We're going live.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Welcome to the Poker Writers podcast. My name is Richard, and we're back with another episode. And we have a professional poker player in the house. It's none other than my good friend and extreme uh, Uber and other adjectives which I can't think of. He's a beast in the game of poker. He is Sumit Sapra, aka Boronyx. What's up, Sumit?
What's up, guys? How are you doing, Richie?
Yo, man, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. We're trying to do a podcast for a while, and the last time we tried to do it, it was such a disaster. So I'm glad
Yeah,
I
I remember
finally
that was almost 6 months back, I believe.
6 months back. I was back in Dubai at the time,
Yeah,
and strangely enough, the internet there was worse than here, which is weird.
yeah.
But that's
Where
what
are you now? Are you back in India?
I'm back in India. I'm in Mumbai. I'm in Mumbai for about uh, 2.5 months, and
Oh, I didn't know that, man.
yeah, yeah. In fact, I was planning to come to Chandigarh to catch you, but then you travel so much. It's hard. It's hard to find you in India. So anyway, let me get straight to the thing. The last time you were doing the podcast, you had just won a WPT title. So let me jump in and talk right about that to begin with, because it's such a coveted title. So few people actually end up winning something as esteemed as a WPT. Tell me that whole experience.
Well, to be honest, the tournament that I won wasn't really a big one. It was a theater event, so there were not a lot of entries, about 35, 40 people in that event. So, but at the end of the day, it's still a WPT title and an international poker title. So I still covered it. But yeah, this year I've been in search of something much bigger in terms of a title or a finish. So I've been traveling the circuit for almost a year now, as you must have seen, and been trying to play, especially in Asia, try and play all the big events that happen here. So I went to Macau for the World Cup. I went to Macau for the Red Dragon as well. And I came close, really close a few times, but yeah, still not been able to close the deal.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you're gonna play a lot of tournaments, and I know for a fact that you're planning to do a lot. But I'm gonna go back a little bit now that we've spoken about the WPT win,
Yeah,
which I was super excited about, and I really want to talk to you about it at the time. But I mean, it's still a great achievement, and kudos to you for that. Why don't we talk a little bit about how you got into the game, because you've been playing the game a lot longer than the other people around in the circuit today, and you've been
right.
playing this game for a long time. You started off as a cash game player, and I just wanted to speak to you about what was your journey like, when you just started playing poker, and then eventually you got
Yeah.
to a point where you transitioned into a professional player. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
So I got introduced to the game through a very good friend of mine. A lot of people know him as one of the best cashier players in India. His name is Raman Guptal. So Raman and me grew up together in Chandigarh, and we were classmates. And after that, he moved to the US to pursue studies after school. And, so he got introduced to the game while he was working there. And after Black Friday, he moved back to India in 2008 or 9. And that's when we kind of hung out again. And at that time, he was already playing poker professionally, mainly online. So he kind of introduced me to the game. And for a long time, I was actually a recreational player. So I had a full time job, and so I started playing. I played a few events in Goa. I actually played some of the few earliest tournaments that happened in Goa. There was a series called IP Party, a poker rank tournament. Pretty much the first tournament that happened in India. So that I played that. There were about 20 or 30 people who played that tournament series. It was way back in probably 2008, I believe. 8 or 9. And then I used to live in Bombay at that time, so we had some weekend games, mostly like home games. One of these games was used to happen at Daswin Cycles. Um, so yeah, I met a lot of my poker buddies at that game. And then there was also this tournament that happened in Bombay every Sunday. It used to be called the Sunday game. and it was a small buy-in considering the things that we play today. So it used to be like a 2,500 rupee buy, and about 20 people used to show up for that tournament. It used to happen in a hotel somewhere in the suburbs, and so that kind of introduced me that, and tournaments that I played in Goa kind of introduced me to tournament poker. And I started loving playing tournaments way more than cash games. And after that, pretty much played every tournament that's happened in India, especially in Goa. So I played recreationally for almost about, I would say about 6 years, 5 to 6 years. So from 2008 to about 2015, I was primarily a recreational player because I had a full-time job or I was working on a business. And so in 2015, I kind of felt that if I want to take poker seriously, let me try and poker restaurant, just play poker and also travel the world, see how that goes. So yeah, for the last about I would say 2.5 years now, that's what I've been doing, traveling the world and playing poker.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you actually made the transition a lot slower than most people do. Like a lot of people go through a super beer and sort of decide to move to tournament poker or like playing poker full time. But you
Yeah,
actually your transition is much more organic, I guess. And
yeah. So
you spent a lot of time. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I really want to know like what
yeah,
was your thought process
yeah.
when
So
you actually.
I mean, the thought just came to my mind, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. So one of the reasons why the transition was slow or slower compared to maybe a lot of other people today, that at that time poker was still pretty small in India. That was one of the reasons, obviously. And the other reason was that for me, the opportunity cost of giving up what I was doing and playing poker full time was really big in terms of both financially as well as in terms of what I could achieve in my career if I continued working. For a long time, I struggled with this question whether if I give up everything else to pursue poker full time, whether I will be able to achieve the sort of success that I can in my career, which I had been pursuing for almost 10 years before I went pro full time. So for a long time, I kind of struggled with that question. And to be honest, even when I started playing professionally and started playing full time, I wasn't really convinced or didn't really have an answer. But what I just realized is that I enjoy my time spent playing poker so much more than doing any other work. That even if I make a little bit less money or I'm a little bit less successful, it doesn't really matter as long as I'm much more happy. So yeah, that was one of the reasons why it took a while for me to really get into this full time. Ricky, are you there? I think I might have lost you.
Hi.
Yeah, I think I lost you for a
Sorry.
bit.
Yeah, yeah, and I was talking. I was thinking that your connection is gone, but yeah,
No,
yeah, I'm
no.
back. You were saying,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So,
yeah. So I was
go
basically
ahead.
talking about the fact that for me, the opportunity cost of giving up everything else and playing poker full time was pretty big. So for a long time, I struggled with this question in terms of whether financially and even otherwise, whether I would be able to be as successful in poker as I would have been in my career. And eventually, even after I started playing full time, it's not that I was able to get an answer to the question, but just that I enjoyed playing poker so much that I felt that even if I make a little less money or have a little less success compared to my other career, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, also for the fact that you are very practical and very mechanical in the sense that you take the basics of poker more seriously than some people I know, and you adhere and you're very disciplined about how you approach the game and
Right.
stuff like that, which comes from you come from a finance background, and
Right.
you take those things very seriously. How important do you think that is, and do you think like people who are coming into the game today are looking at poker and looking at the poker basics that seriously, or what's your outlook to that?
See, if you want to do anything professionally or be good at it, obviously the first thing you need to do is to get your basics right. As long as you're playing recreationally, you don't really care whether sometimes you might take more risks than you would like, or sometimes you would take less risks than you should. So as long as you're playing the game recreationally, it's fine. Everyone has their own style of play, and everyone has their own movements as well. So I don't have anything as that. But for someone who is thinking or trying to pursue the game professionally, it's really important to have a basic understanding of the game and the math that goes behind it. Especially for online, I feel it's a lot more relevant. For live poker, yeah, there are other things which are also important and which can help you overcome any deficiency in terms of if you're not as good as some other people at the math or some of the other basic know, principles. But yeah, I feel for online poker, they're a little more relevant. Uh, Most of the time, when you're playing online, especially tournaments, when you're playing big tournaments, it all comes down to you know, all comes down to the math, whether or whether the risk you're taking for a particular reward, whether they sync up or not, whether it's justified or not. So yeah. So I don't have anything against people who don't follow this approach, but yeah, personally for me, that's the way I approach it.
And it's worked pretty well. So I wanted to quickly give a couple of shout outs. So Tanay and Mrinal are in the chat, and Tanay wanted to ask you a question, but before that, I'll read out the chat from Mrinal Manna, and I know you know
So
this guy in the chat,
yeah,
and he's
he's actually he's one of my
he's
like buddies from Chandigarh, so I know him personally.
I know
We
that.
have some fun.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly take a question from Tanay. And Tanay wanted to ask this question, and I found it's really interesting and relevant. And I thought you can, probably shed some light and give your perspective on it. His question is, "What's your take on Indian poker shares?"
Indian poker shares, as in I think I saw something on Facebook a few days back. Someone is reselling actions for some of the pros. Yeah, it's an interesting development, and I feel it has a lot of potential. But right now, the poker community in India is pretty small, so most people know each other. So if someone really wants to buy action, and especially if the other person is selling action, then it's not hard for them to reach out to that person directly and be able to invest in their action. But yeah, as the community grows bigger and bigger, there are going to be times when people don't know each other. And in that sort of scenario, or something like poker shares, or something like even staking for that matter, uh, trying to enter the Indian market as well. So that becomes a really useful platform for people to invest in other people or to even look up how other players have been performing on the circuit and things like that. So I feel it has a lot of potential, but its time is yet to come.
Yeah, and I see your train of thought as well. It definitely seems like a viable business in the future, but at the moment, I mean I understand, like for it to be like overall profitable, like you need a bunch of bets, and that's when it's
Yeah,
actually gonna keep making you money long term. And yeah, I see where you're going with this. And we have Akash Shekhar in the chat. Akash obviously
An architect
is
one.
is a professional troller, and
Yeah, he's been doing pretty
he's
well
a
in.
professional.
He's been doing
He's a
really well, I
professional.
feel, in the online space, especially in tournaments on Indian websites of late.
Yeah.
So
He's a
I see.
professional meme guy. He's a professional troller. He plays poker sometimes. Maybe he wins a couple. He doesn't win actually. He comes second. And Akash in the chat, and this is what he posted. On my initial post about the podcast was
Yeah.
that which OTA or online travel agent are you an affiliate of? Because you travel a shitload, and you really travel a lot. Like, because the last time I was in Europe with Akash and with you. I had come there with Poker
Yeah.
Ninja, of course, and
Right.
so and I remember you telling me, and I was like, so Sumit, man, what's up? How's you been? What's your plan now? And you just told me, so I'm going from here to Amsterdam, and from Amsterdam I have a flight to Paris, and maybe I'll spend a couple of days there, and I'll stop at London for another tournament, and then eventually I'll end up at Vegas somehow. So
Yeah.
you travel a lot, man. So what's up with that? And are you really getting some deals with MMT, or maybe a trip, or like, I
I
mean, I don't
wish
know
I wish I
what's up with
was,
that.
man. I wish I was getting something, but unfortunately, no. It's just that among the Indian vendors, I found uh, pretty good in terms of their interface of and,
Like like
and when it comes to traveling,
like
so yeah, I was going to say that when it comes to traveling, I just love traveling. So especially, I travel alone most of the time. I just enjoy going to a new place, and just, like chilling there, absorbing the culture, hanging out with local people for a bit, and yeah, seeing some of the sights.
yeah. I totally get that, and from what I understand is that you try to play all the major tournaments, and at the same time you try and fit in a few places where you can sort of like unwind and relax, and sort of take a break from
So,
poker.
yeah, the thing is, when you're actually in the middle of a series, even though you might be in a beautiful place, but you don't really, well, at this time, it's hard to kind of, take your mind off poker and um, get into a different zone. And to be honest, you don't even want to do that. You want to stay focused while you're playing and be zoned in. So I always, find it good to take a couple of days or off between, between trips, between poker trips. So take a stopover for a few days, where you just relax. Don't have anything to do with poker. Don't play any poker. Just, get your mind fresh so that you can, focus again when the next tournament series starts.
Okay, so let me just ask you, which is the place like you enjoy the most, and also like try to fit into your schedule, like whenever you're traveling,
Yeah.
which is that one place that you always feel like, oh, it's close by, maybe I can stay there for a day or two, like which is that place for you?
So in India, obviously, Goa is one of the places I really like spending a lot of time in, and I have a place of mine there as well. So it feels like a second home. So I usually stay back a few days after finishing a tournament series, or try and get in a couple of days early, still for a few days. And outside India, Amsterdam is one of my favorite cities in the world. Uh, the the Europeans are pretty, they're not very generous with their visas. So Spain kind of applying for a visa every time you want to travel to Europe. But yeah, whenever I do go to Europe, I try and make a stopover, a small tour, or spend a couple of days in Amsterdam. Off late, actually, Prague has been also been become one of my new favorites. So I've already been there about 3 times this year, and I'm going to make another visit. So this is going to be my fourth visit to Prague this year. What I like about Prague is that it's kind of very liberal, very chilled out. A lot of young people around. Surprisingly, a fair number of them speak English as well, and it's not as expensive as some of the other European cities like London, Paris, or Amsterdam. So staying there will not really burn a hole in the pocket. You want to stay there for 3 4 days. So I really think it's one of my favorite travel destinations. And this time I go, since I'm going to have a lot more time, I'm going to be there for more than 2 weeks. So I plan to travel around a little bit. I love driving, so usually what I do is I land at the airport and just rent a car and then just drive around wherever I want to. So yeah, this time I plan to visit around Czech Republic as well, maybe Germany or Poland for a few days if I can.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually want to talk about another thing which is very interesting and probably unique to you. I'm not sure if a lot of other people share this skill set maybe. When I was with you in Prague, and we were a couple of other guys, and then there was this one time we went for we went to party, and we were out
Yeah,
there and having a good time, and then eventually we stayed back. Uh, we got out of line or whatever, and we had a great time, and we sort of stayed up the whole night, and eventually by the afternoon, or like late morning,
yeah, we
we
do that.
decided to drive back, and
Yes,
we sort of never slept, and we drove back I think the main event, or
yeah, we play a tournament after that.
yeah, there was a tournament that you really wanted to play, and you got back and you were super fresh, and you were the guy who was driving. I sort of slept off in the
Yeah,
car.
even when I was driving, everyone in the car was sleeping. There was Jagdeep in the back seat who was completely passed out. And I was talking to you, you were sitting right next to me, and then after a minute, I would look at you and you would be fucking sleeping while I'm still talking to you.
Okay, so
So,
yeah, so I was trying to act like I'm not sleeping, but I was
yeah,
losing my
I know.
shit. Like I was so drained. So, but then you drive back to the casino, which is a long drive, and you get back to it like as if we just woke up and you just had a nice coffee or something, and you're just playing it super fresh. How do you deal with that? Because I mean, I understand you doing it once, but I can imagine you do it basically all year round, because you keep traveling, and
Yeah,
you're
I mean, I don't do it that often, but yeah, when if I have to do it, I think I have the capacity to do it. So, but it's not something that I try to do too often deliberately. But it's just that I feel that when I'm driving or when I'm playing poker, or for that matter when I'm doing anything, I get into this different mindset or different zone. And sometimes even if I haven't slept or even if I'm tired, it just doesn't matter. In fact, I remember there was this time in Goa, like a lot of years back, where I remember playing one tournament, uh, something like final taping it or making it to day two, and then uh, I played a cash game session for almost maybe 20 hours straight. By the time I finished that cash game session, the next tournament had already started. So I jumped straight into the next tournament, and I actually ended up winning it. So I played like almost 3 days nonstop.
what a
and
guy.
and strangely, sometimes I feel when I haven't slept at all, I feel a little more energetic for some reason. If you can get beyond that couple of hours when you're going to be feeling really tired or really drowsy, you can somehow get beyond that. After that, it's not that bad. Because what,
I don't I don't know what you're talking about, man.
no, what I'm talking about is basically your body is used to a cycle, right? So let's say I go to sleep every day at 2 a.m. So my body is used to that. So if I don't sleep for one night, the next day, when it starts getting closer to 2 a.m., I'm going to start feeling a lot more tired than I was earlier. But if I can get past the those few hours from 2 to 4 a.m. And beyond 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., you'll see you won't feel as tired as you were feeling at 2 a.m., even though it's been longer from the last time that you slept.
Right.
Something
So
like a second, it's something like a second win, which you also get in sports. Like if you playing for too long, you get really tired, but uh, push yourself a little bit
second
more.
wind. It's called
Yes,
second wind. Yeah, yeah.
yes,
A lot of marathoners talk about it, and
yes,
I used to read about it when I used to run, and
yes.
I haven't been running for a long time. But let's get back to poker.
Yeah, so that second win
I,
happens in
look at me. Yeah, it's
poker.
disgusting. Anyway, so let's get back to poker. Obviously you have such a tight, such a ridiculous schedule, and you travel so much, and how do you try and mix in a little bit of study and a little bit of catching up with poker, or do you not you know cram information when you're traveling, and do you
Yeah,
do you sort of do like study work when you're back home and you're like
yeah,
in your break? So what does that brushing up
yeah,
your skills and study process work with you?
yeah. So I feel when it comes to studying poker, there are two aspects to it. One is obviously related to your game, to how much information or knowledge you have, which is basically external. And then there is another aspect which is internal, which I feel a lot of people don't really work too much upon, or you tend to ignore, which is knowing yourself as a player, which basically talks about what are what sort of situations or what style of play you're comfortable with, how you personally react to certain situations on the poker table, um, what sort of maybe tendencies you have as a player. So all these kind of things you can work better upon if you know yourself more as a person first and as a player secondly. So when I travel, I don't do a lot of external study. Like I don't try and read up something new or try and get some new information. But what I still try to do a lot is try and introspect or try and reflect on the way I've been playing or the way or the sort of mindset that I'm in. So that's something which I feel I do when I travel and even when I'm not traveling. So that's a continuous process, and it needs to be a continuous process. It's not something which you do. But when it comes to learning something new or absorbing some new information or maybe discussing some with a person, that's something which I do once in a while or maybe once in a couple of months. And for that, I feel you need to have a lot more time and you need to be relaxed and not be following some sort of a tight schedule. So I usually do that when I'm back home, taking a break between.
That makes complete sense. And another thing that I want to talk about was that you know I, I don't think I've seen anyone as calm as you, when you're playing poker. And even though you bust out, or even though you're having a bad session when you're playing cash, you always seem to have a very level-headed approach to the bad situations that arise. Obviously, when you're on an upswing, and it's a lot easier to sort of handle your emotions well. But then I've seen you go through situations like I've seen you after a bust out, and you're pretty much talking about the hand as if it's from a year back. And you aren't as emotional about it, or at least you're not very vocal about how you're feeling. And obviously there might be feelings of disappointment and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I feel like you handle those situations a lot better than the others. So what's your mental game, or like what's your thought process, and how do you deal with downswings and
Yeah.
bad beats and stuff like that?
Um, so to be honest, initially when I started off playing, I used to get disappointed or get angry when I used to get a bad beat, like most people do. And over a period of time, I gradually realized that it's not really going to help me in any way by letting those emotions take control of me. In fact, if I am continuing to play after that hand happens, it's obviously going to impact my game negatively, if anything else. So that was one reason I kind of decided or tried consciously to channel that passion or emotion or energy more positive outcomes or try and what I do now is, in any situation, I just think that, if you get a bad beat, for example, that this is going to happen maybe 5% or 10%. So this is one of those times. So, and it is actually true that a bad beat is something which is not impossible. Obviously, it's unlikely, but it can happen. So it is one of those times when it just happens. That so you just got to deal with it and move on. And now also the fact that I'm able to put in enough volume, kind of experience is one of the biggest teachers. So kind of that these things will happen, and there's nothing really that you can do about it. You can yell at the guy, you can do whatever you want, you can curse your luck if you want. Um, it's part of the game, and the faster and the better you learn to deal with it, the better it will be for you as a player. So especially when you start playing poker for a living, you got to learn to take these things in a stride. Obviously, I am also very passionate about the game, and I feel really disappointed when something like that happens, especially at a crucial time. But yeah, you have to understand that if you get into that spot enough number of times, you get it in good, then eventually you are going to get there. So, there might be a few times when you might get a bad beat or might not be lucky enough. It's all part of the game.
That's nice. That's nice. And in terms of like online and live poker,
Yeah.
obviously you play a lot more live than online at the moment. But you do still find the time to ship a tournament here and there, and
Yeah.
cash the occasional tournament. So like what's your schedule like? When you're back home, like do you play a bunch online, and like
Yeah.
what do you kind of what is the day? What does the average day look like?
Yeah, so when I'm back home, my day usually starts a little late. I usually wake up around 11, 10 to 11 in the morning. I usually wake up. So I get breakfast, chill for a bit, maybe watch a little bit of TV, or not really TV, but I have follow a few shows. So I spend a couple of hours in a day catching up on a few episodes of some of the shows that I follow. So this is basically, the first half of the day, kind of getting into the groove, relaxing, and then in the afternoon, sometimes I play a few short cash if I'm bored. Otherwise, usually in the evening, I try and spend an hour or hour and a half playing a sport. I love playing tennis, squash. You know, so I try and get in a workout early in the evening. And I get back home, take a shower, and then that's when the poker grind starts. And fortunately, these days there's a lot of tournaments that you can find pretty much every day on the websites. So I try and play 2 or 3 tournaments on some of the Indian websites, and then if I'm running deep in them, then I continue that. Otherwise, if I bust out early, then sometimes I fire up a few on stars, usually around 11, 12. And then, depending on how things go there, they can end at 6 a.m. or it can end at 2 a.m. So yeah, if it ends early, then sometime, and then I might decide to fire up some cash tables if there's decent action at that time. Maybe spend 3, 4 hours playing some cash before I call it a night or a day, about 4 or 5 a.m.
that sounds like a pretty well balanced day. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was that you started writing a couple of blogs, and
Yeah,
it was pretty interesting to read, some of their experiences, and
yeah,
obviously it was fun to sort of like live through your words, and sort of listen to what a poker player, how a poker player actually sees a place, and it was super interesting. So how did that come? Like, how did you decide to like start writing a
yeah.
blog?
So actually, from a very early age, I've really been quite fond of writing. In fact, there was a time when I actually wanted to study journalism and become a journalist or a writer. This was like when I was very young, maybe in school. I have done a fair bit of writing earlier, but uh, after I started playing poker, I was kind of uh, out of touch with it. So hadn't been writing anything for a long time. So a few of my buddies basically run this website called FTR Poker, and they kind of approached me with this idea that they wanted to, publish a series of blogs about my poker travels and in general other traveling as well. So I thought it was a good idea, and I obviously enjoy writing as well. So I thought it would be a great way to get back into writing. So we thought of doing series of blogs um, would happen over a period of about 2 months while I was touring Europe for party release, and then I went to Vegas to play the World Series after that. So we thought there would be enough content in terms of different places and also enough photos to make it interesting for people to read. So that's when I did this series of blogs, and I thought it came out pretty well. But the only thing is that when you travel and when you play poker, sometimes you don't really get be able to write a complete blog. What I usually do is whenever I find something interesting, or whenever I get time, I make like a small post on Facebook or on Instagram, and then at the end of the week, whenever I get time, I usually collect all those posts together and then try and write a blog out of it. So that's the approach I followed when I was writing this series blog.
And again, I can totally understand. Even like if you have the time, you might not want to write. After a long day of poker, like you pretty much want to relax,
Yeah,
and writing is something that you really want to you want to get it right. And
yeah,
so yeah, I see where you're going with that. I had a couple of questions on the post by Sharad Rao. Shout out to Sharad Rao. What a crusher! And he's low-key trying to troll you. And his first question is, what is the black bean move?
the black bean is not really a move. It's the name of a burger that I made Sharad Rao try while he was in the US. So Sharad Rao is actually a vegetarian, and we were staying together while we were playing the main event, which was pretty much the last event I played at the World Series of Poker. So there was this Smash Burger outlet which was right next to where we were staying in the Rio. And uh, once I asked him, "Do you want to go to Smash Burger?" and he said, "I don't really have too many options there." So I kind of introduced him to this burger they have, which is called the Black Beef Burger, which is pretty much the only vegetarian burger that they have on their menu. So it is actually made of beans. That's what the patty is made of. And I'm guessing he really dug it. He really liked it, and that's why he's been going on and on about it for a few months now, I guess.
Okay, so is Sumit a nit?
Well, what do you think, Shalva?
Sharad Rao might have a lot of things to say, but okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. He has
so, so I'm not really going to answer that directly, but what I think is that a lot of people, uh, at least live, I feel a lot of people, especially the older, like the older poker players, in the sense the people who've been playing for a long time or who know me for a long time, essentially perceive me or think me to be basically a tight, aggressive player. That's the image I have. But I think online, that's not really true. A lot of people I have told me, or I've heard, or people think that I'm much more good online. So online, I think, especially on the Indian sides, people, uh, I have this image that I'm a lag. Works well. So as long as you realize or you know how people perceive you, you can use that in your advantage. So yeah,
True.
that answers my question, or Sharadra's question. Rather.
Yeah, it does answer your question, and the third question is actually a very good question, and it's one of the serious questions out of the three, and it's if you had to go back about 7 or 8 years, right to the point where you actually started playing poker, what would you want to change, or what would you want to tell your younger self to do, and how to approach the game?
Look, I personally, would like to, would have been to start off a little earlier. I started playing poker quite late, because obviously it wasn't really popular in India for a long time. So by the time I started playing poker, I was already 27 years old. So if you, especially for kids who want to take up poker as a career, out of it, um, much easier to take the plunge when you're younger, because one reason is that your opportunity cost is much lower, in terms of you don't have many other options which can be as lucrative or as enjoyable as poker. And the other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, for a long time I was a recreational player, so I didn't really make up my mind that I want to pursue poker. And part of the reason for that was that it wasn't really a viable career option at that time, which it is now. So now things are much better, especially for younger people who are starting out right now. So people can look up to other people who have been successful in poker and have made a career out of it. So yeah, so not much, but yeah, I would have liked to have started playing poker maybe a little bit earlier than I.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think about the new leagues that have come in? Like we have Poker Sports League,
Yeah,
the Global Poker League is coming in very soon.
right.
So that again will be pretty big. And Poker Sports League had a pretty good first season, and they want to make it big as well the next season. So a lot to look forward to. What is your opinion about it? Because when I first heard about the leagues, I felt like
Yeah,
sportifying poker to an extent, maybe monetary, like in terms of monetary benefits, it might benefit like the people organizing it and the teams
yeah,
in a sense, but it might not be very appealing to to the people who consume this content. And but it has done pretty well considering it was the first time, and it
yeah.
was super interesting to see that. What do you think about the league system, or like the Spotify poker sort of a movement?
I think it's pretty good. Great that poker is about to be considered a sport, and the biggest benefit or advantage of having something like a poker is that uh, it can help to produce content. It is packaged and which can basically bring poker to the masses, people who don't really understand poker right now. So uh, if the right content and the right packaging can be done, and it can be brought to them through medium like TV or YouTube or Facebook. So it can basically grow the popularity of the game, one. And the other thing is that people will start understanding that, unlike uh, other card games, poker is not just gambling. There is obviously an element of luck. so, but there are people who have successfully made careers out of this and continue to do so. And there is a lot of skill involved as well. Uh, that's one of the benefits of being able to bring poker to people's homes and couches. They can sit and watch and just not just enjoy, but also appreciate the fact that poker, also like any other mind sport like chess, for example, does involve a lot of skill. That
Yeah,
way, I
and I,
think it's going to be really
yeah.
fun in that way.
Yeah, and I also think like the league system may be actually packaged very well for India, because the stigma of gambling is much more in India than most other countries. So the fact that you sportify it gives it certain sort of legitimacy as a skilled game, and that might sort of usher in
Yeah.
a phase where
And the other
poker.
aspect is it also gives opportunity to a lot of the young players to interact with some of the better players from India, as well as uh, you know, that come and play in these leagues from outside India as well. It's a great platform, gives a lot of exposure to young guys, and helps them grow.
Yeah, the international players that PSL actually managed to get in was super impressive. They they,
Yeah,
they did get a lot of big names, and it was super fun to watch them, play, and at the same time like sort of interact with the Indian players, and
yeah,
it was fun. Like social media was really fun during that time, and
yeah,
you know, I look forward to the next season. So I want to move on to Vegas, right? So you've done
yeah.
Vegas a couple of times, and it's pretty much. Every it's a poker player's mecca, and every person essentially wants to get to Vegas somehow, and if he's lucky, well, he wants to play the main event as well.
Yeah.
And you've done that a couple of times. Tell me your experience in Vegas. Tell me what do you like. Tell me what you not like, and tell me how your experiences have been in Vegas.
See, as a place, to be honest, I don't really like Vegas a lot because, like any other casino city, whether it's Macau or Vegas, it doesn't feel real. Like you meet people on the street who are real, as uh, have other interests or other pursuits outside of poker, and everything seems very artificial. Things are set up in a way to kind of maximize how much money people spend everywhere. So in that way, if I was not really playing poker, I wouldn't really want to be in it. To be honest. But yeah, as you rightly said, World Series of Poker, especially the main event, is a dream for every poker player, and I feel everyone should go there, have the experience at least once in their lifetime. But yeah, going there every year to play tournaments, especially given the fact that there's a huge percentage of your winnings that you might have to pay in tax if you win something big. So from just a profitability perspective, if you ask me, I'm not a big fan of traveling to Vegas to play tournaments. But yeah, from an experience point of view, from playing some of the biggest fields in the world, from playing at a place which has some of the best infrastructure and the way the tournaments are organized, it's something that I feel everyone should experience. Yeah, I don't know how much longer or maybe how long I continue doing that, but yeah. So, for example, last year when I went to Vegas, so last year was the first time during the series that I went to Vegas. Even though I'd been to times before, so I played pretty much every tournament in every casino. I would play a tournament during the day, I would do tournament. I plus that time before 5 or 6 in the evening. I would go to Planet Hollywood to play a tournament there, or I would go to play a tournament there. And it just kind of burnt me out, and I felt that I was not really being able to put in my best, and also I wasn't really that fresh next day. And also, I realized that with the tax and everything, it's not even like very profitable to be playing a lot of tournaments, to be honest. So this year when I went, even though I was there for a longer time this year, I was there for almost a month. I consciously decided that I'm only going to play uh, World Series events. I'm not going to play events at any other casino. At least for the World Series event, despite the tax, there is an added value or a benefit of being able to say that okay, you're trying to win a bracelet. But with the other events, even that is not there. Uh, so it's just not worth your time and effort to keep going to other casinos and try and play those tournaments. Especially now when you have so many options online, especially on Indian sites as well. So this year I played actually only, I think I played six tournaments in the period of a month in Vegas. Um, Five of these were World Series events, and one of them was a WPT area for which also I had won a satellite, and that's the reason why I went and played that event. And plus, that event at least was good value in the sense that the buy-in was low, and since it was an unlimited re-entry event, so to take a couple of shots at it, and so I cashed I think three out of these six. Cashed a Millionaire Maker and a Monster Stack at the World Series, and I finished 30th in the WPT area. So not a bad trip, but uh, given the fact that any cash or any profit above 5,000, they have to pay 30% tax. Still, pretty much just a break even for me. So it's not like hugely profitable. And a lot of the people who travel to World Series to play tournaments, very few of them are even break even. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people literally say this that you either win really big in Vegas or you
Yeah.
break even and you're good.
So I would say if you want to go to Vegas to the World Series, think of it as more of an experience rather than always thinking in terms of profitability. Only in terms of profitability, you will never really, you can never convince yourself to go. But if you think of the overall trip as an experience, you get to travel, you get to see how things happen at the Rio during the World Series. You get to see and meet some of the maybe the best players in the world. So if you think of the overall experience, it's definitely worth the effort and the money that you. But if you look at it from purely a poker perspective, from just profitable World Series, I doubt that can happen. Unless
Yeah,
score something really good on your first trip,
yeah,
which can always happen.
Yeah, Sangeet Samo was on the podcast and he said the same thing. Like he
Oh,
said that trip is a great experience, but if you look at it from a pure EV point of view, it may not be the best
yeah.
spot. Like there are a lot of other spots which you can take. Like there are a lot of other places and other tournaments that
Yeah,
might be
especially
more
now,
profitable.
like there's so many more tournaments in Asia. In Macau, there's like a bunch of tournaments. There's a tournament that happens in Macau pretty much every other month. Decent numbers and great payouts, and PokerStars does it, so you can buy in through your PokerStars account as well as cash out on PokerStars account. And so, given the fact that these options are there, so now no more just the only to go for tournament poker, especially if you make sense. But yeah, it is still an experience which I think get at least once.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what are your plans in the coming months? Like where is your poker schedule taking you in the coming months?
So I usually don't plan to open one of the months at a time. So my immediate plan is I think right after Diwali I will be traveling to Europe. In the World Series of Poker in Europe. So that's pretty much about a 2 week long trip. I'm planning to play about 6 to 7 tournaments. So that's coming up right away, and then immediately after that, I come back and jump into the WBC, which is happening for the first time in Goa. That's going to go on for another week after that. So that gets done around the 13th, 14th of November. After that, not much planned as of now. Maybe I'll stay back in Goa for a few more days, just chill there for a bit, and then come back here and online for another couple of weeks. And December, no plans as of now, but I am thinking about going to the Aussie Millions in January next year. But I haven't really made any plans for it as of now. But that's something that I've been wanting to do for a few years now. So hopefully, this is the year when it actually happens. And Australia is also a place I've never gone to so far. So I'm looking forward to going there from a travel perspective as well. So if I do go there, I plan to spend some time going around and traveling around Australia as well. The Australian Open is not happening at that time, so definitely want to go and watch a few matches in Melbourne as well while I'm there.
Wow, that sounds like a plan. That's awesome. That's awesome, and I hope we go. I'm pretty much gonna wrap the podcast up, but before I go, I wanted you to tell us, like who do you think are like the people you look up to in poker, like maybe from the Indian poker circuit, or are really close with, that you might want to talk about.
So as I told you, I started playing poker when I was living in Bombay. So most of the guys from Bombay who've been playing poker for a while are some of my best friends, like Aswin, Romit, Kanishka, Shravan. So I learned most of my poker along with these guys. And then, as I already mentioned, Raman and me, like we are like childhood friends. We grew up together. So I'm pretty close to him as well. And I spent a lot of time with intervention as well when he was still active on the Indian circuit and playing in Goa. So I hung out with him as well. But yeah, after in the last couple of years, we've not hung out as much because I've been traveling a lot myself and uh, traveling myself as well and staying in Calcutta most of the time. And in terms of people whom I look up to, yeah, intervention for sure. He's, I feel, the players that we have today. In terms of other people whom I really admire, not just for their poker skills, but for other things like their work ethic and the way they conduct themselves and the way they interact with other people. Some of the guys who is great. Everyone really, enjoys talking to him, and nobody really.
No, you're actually breaking up. I didn't get the second name at all.
Samuel,
Because okay,
Sangeet
okay,
Mohan,
okay, cool.
the
Right,
big guy.
right. So every time you look down to play poker on your phone, I
I'm
can't hear
not
you.
playing this on my phone anymore, man. I've not been playing for the last
Oh,
half an hour
oh, you lost it.
now. Yeah,
Because I know you were playing that poker, and probably
yeah,
anybody
when we
watching the
started out, I was playing. I was still in the tournament because I told you I was pretty short, so I got
right,
out.
right. So you said some more, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was just about wrapping up. So these are some of the guys, I'm like good friends with or admire them for. And among the new generation of football players, uh, I think Sharad is one of the best people I know in terms of not just of poker, but in terms of the way they conduct themselves and the way they go about promoting the game. And there are a lot of other people who might not be poker players, but who've done a lot for poker, like Pranav Bagai and Nikita, who are working on course. than other people in the past who used to run tournament series, or like Bharat Agarwala used to run a tournament series called India Poker Series.
Right.
Definitely,
And he did a great job with that.
yeah. So yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry, did I cut you off?
Well, I was just going to name a few more people like the guys behind Spartan as well. I mean, and Rajiv, and all these guys are doing great things for poker, and hats off to them for what they do.
They are for sure. And these are the people who kind of build the foundation to like the poker in India, like Bharat Agarwala, the Spartan team, like Rajiv,
Yeah,
Peter, Samir, and Amin, and
yeah,
all of these guys actually like sort of are
yeah.
low key
IPC is
responsible for.
IPC is like the first well-known brand of poker in India. So, and whenever IPC used to happen, every player from Bombay used to show up because
Yeah, I mean, I started playing poker because of IPC.
yeah,
That's my entry to poker, and that's why I actually started playing poker. So it was amazing, and
yeah.
definitely thanks to them. And anyway, any sort of advice for any young poker players who are watching this that you might want to give really quick?
I mean, to be honest, experience is the best teacher. So whatever advice anyone gives never really has the sort of impact that going through the experience yourself does. But yeah, I mean, if someone is really looking for some advice, just stay grounded. Easy for anyone to get success to their head. It happens early on in your career. So yeah, just stay grounded, stay focused, enjoy yourself while you're playing because that's the most important thing, especially for me personally. I play poker and I do it for a living because I really enjoy doing it. If I stop enjoying poker, then it's just going to become like any other job. So stay focused, work hard, but at the same time, remember to enjoy yourself while you're playing poker, especially live. I see a lot of people these days, especially the young kids, sit on tables, glasses and headphones on. Sometimes I do it as well, so I'm not really finding any for that. But it's always good, especially if you go to a new place, to have a little bit of a conversation with people on the table. It helps not just from social perspective, but sometimes it helps from a poker point of view as well. Later on, if you get into a hand with them, if you have a conversation with someone, you have some information about how this guy thinks already, what sort of a person he is, which can help you. So yeah, so try and be social, especially while playing live poker. It helps in a lot of ways.
That seems like some solid advice. Anyway, Sumit, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. We're definitely going to do another one after you finish traveling to like 18 countries and when you're back. And hopefully you will win another title, and hopefully you'll win a bunch of money and make India proud in the international circuit. Thank you for being with us. Good luck to you, man. And
Thanks a
take
lot.
care. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon. I have a really big podcast coming up next week. I'm going to announce it tomorrow. And, thank you for watching. Take care. Good night.